Oh my goodness. So I just booked my flight to Bali. I don't really know what I'm doing really, but I really want to experience life and yeah, let's go. Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm back in Italy to spend some time with my family for Christmas, and I was reflecting back over the past 2 years which I've been living nomadic, the so-called digital nomad lifestyle, and I thought of sharing the two main reasons that led me to pursue this lifestyle in the first place. I know that some of you might be interested in this lifestyle, might be attracted to it, but also have doubts and conflicting feelings about it, just like I did 3 years ago. So, by sharing my story and my perspective on why I think this lifestyle can be valuable, I hope that it can help you to figure out if this is something you want to pursue in your own life or not. So, let's do it! To give you a little bit of context, I started to work remotely in June 2017, but up until that point I only worked corporate jobs. So none of my colleagues were digital nomads, none of my close friends or family members were digital nomads by any stretch of the imagination. So this didn't really feel like a viable way to live to me. In the lifestyle menu that I had, there was only one entry, and that was get a job, get a house, get married, and so forth. However, at that time I was going through some personal development journey, which I'm still going through. But I was reading a lot of books, and one of the books I read was The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And basically in the book he describes how he managed to leverage technology to basically work more efficiently and enjoy a better quality of life. And that book definitely planted the seed in my head that this lifestyle of work and travel was a possibility. However, even then, I still didn't really consider it as a real option. I thought that these nomads are sort of outliers, Yes, they might be having a great time in freaking Thailand, but they live on the margin of society. They're not really a part of it. And that was my view. And I remember, for example, reading a blog from a girl living in Bali and thinking, wow, this sounds great. This life sounds really amazing, really amazing. However, thinking to myself, how long do you want to keep enjoying life? When are you gonna get serious about your life? When are you gonna become a responsible adult? And that was my view. So I started to go look for apartments to rent in my hometown to sort of settle in. But even though I tried to rationalize that decision, it never quite felt right to me. I saw society around me changing way too fast for me to stop learning and stop growing. And so I kind of kept reading about these nomads on the internet, and one day I stumbled upon a video that at the time had like 77 views. It was just like a random video on the web, and it was a presentation from 2015 by a guy called Peter Levels, who is a digital nomad and a software developer from the Netherlands. And basically in this presentation he shared his vision of the future, and it was very optimistic, maybe not necessarily data accurate, but he basically said that there's gonna be 1 billion digital nomads by 2035. And there's gonna be fast internet and fast travel, and we're not gonna care about marriage or status or ownership, but instead we're gonna leverage technology and the access economy to sort of work and live from many different places in the world and have a great quality of life. And when I watched this video, something clicked in my brain, and I realized that not only this lifestyle is a possibility, but in many ways is where we're all heading towards. These nomads are not necessarily rejecting society or avoiding growing up. They're just leveraging existing technology to readjust their values and find new ways of living. And that made a lot of sense to me. I saw in that moment the traditional way of living, the one where you just settle in and stop learning, stop growing, kind of like the Titanic, about to hit the iceberg of change. And so that was a huge motivation for me to go nomadic, and that was to build resilience in the face of change and try out new ways of living more suitable to the times we live in. The other main reasons I decided to go nomadic was because I felt that the environment I was living in wasn't really supporting my personal growth and my personal journey. Being in this transformative, dynamic process inside, I had a real need for deep conversations and, talk about the future and discuss books and ideas. But within my close circle of friends and family, there wasn't really a time and space to do that. and I felt the environment around me was sort of stale and static, not really moving. And for some time I tried to sort of persuade people around me that, we should have deeper conversation instead of gossiping, or we should, personal development is not for weirdos, it should be mandatory, and, we should talk about the future because things are going to change. But that didn't work, it doesn't work, and it's not even fair because you can't force anything on anyone. However, I realized that it was vital for me to change my environment if I wanted to fulfill my potential, because if I stayed, I might have started doubting that I had a higher potential in the first place. And so eventually I didn't get any apartment, but instead I got a flight ticket to Bali, where I began my nomadic journey. Now, that was the single best decision I've ever made in my entire freaking life. The past 3 years have been absolutely amazing, the best years of my life by far. I met incredible people, had great experiences, and learned a lot about myself. However, I must say that it hasn't been easy. It took quite some time for me to adjust to this lifestyle, and it does come with a lot of challenges, which I'm not gonna cover in this video, but if you want me to talk about them, please let me know in the comments. But in terms of building resilience and try out new ways of living and finding communities, it has been absolutely a blessing. First of all, when you plug yourself into a new foreign environment every few months, you basically force yourself to process and digest a lot of new informations and make a lot of new decisions, such as which neighborhood should I live in, where should I work from, and how do I find community, and do I need to renew my visa, and how do I do that, and do I need insurance, and so forth. So you add a lot of uncertainty into your life on top of all the stress and challenges of your daily life, such as managing work and your social needs and personal needs. And so this uncertainty either overwhelms you or makes you more resilient as the result of dealing with it. So that has been absolutely valuable to me to learn and go through that process. Now, in terms of trying out new ways of living, I'll give you 2 examples. Before going nomadic, I wasn't sure that I was able to work efficiently with my colleagues from a different continent. I thought maybe the time difference is gonna matter, or maybe there's gonna be bad internet. However, everything turned out to be just fine. If anything, I was more motivated, more inspired to work because I was also enjoying my life in Bali. Of course, this depends on the kind of job that you do, but I think we have learned this year that there's a lot of things that we can do remotely. And all my doubts were dissipated when one day we hosted a webinar. It was 3 a.m. in Bali, and I was co-hosting the webinar with my colleagues in Italy, and the audience was mostly joining from the US. And so we were spread around 3 different continents, if not even more. And everything worked smoothly, perfectly fine. And at the end of it, I was like, yes, this is amazing, this works. Let's all meet in the cyberspace. But yeah, it was very empowering to see that this is possible. Another example was about ownership and belongings. I left to Bali with a small backpack of 10 kilos, 40 liters, and I was like, can you really live like minimal like that? Is it sustainable over time? And the answer is yes, it is absolutely sustainable. And it's actually very, very empowering to learn and realize that you don't really need much stuff to have a great life. And of course, yes, you might not have a great array of clothes to choose from when you go out, but to me, that doesn't matter. I value much more the fact that in 20 minutes I can pack all my belongings and move to a new country or a new city. So that's very valuable to me, and it was a great lesson learned. Finally, finding community has been without a doubt the biggest benefit of this lifestyle. When I first arrived in Bali, the first thing I did, I went to a co-working space, shout out to Outpost, not just to work from there, but also to meet other people, to meet other digital nomads. And I wanted to spend a second to define what a digital nomad is to me, because this label nowadays has a lot of different meanings. To me, a digital nomad is someone who is excited about life, someone who is curious and learning and questioning things by trying new experiences. And so to me, a digital nomad is not defined by the remote work or the traveling, but rather by the mindset and the values. So the remote work is conducive to the traveling, but the traveling is conducive to have new experiences and seeking community. So that's what ultimately matters, at least to me. And so when I finally met a lot of them, both in Bali and in Portugal, it was absolutely amazing, because I finally found people who share my same interests and my same values and that I could grow with, basically. That was huge. I often say that I felt like a fish who found the ocean after living in the forest. And that was a very, very powerful lesson. You know, the environment you plug yourself into is an incredibly powerful force that can basically either shrink or expand your potential. So be very, very careful which environment you plug yourself into. In conclusion, I believe that building resilience and try out new ways of living and finding inspiring communities and empowering environments can be very, very important to deal with the uncertainty of the time. Now, do you need to be a digital nomad to do that? Do you need to go nomadic? Absolutely not. Of course, you can do that in many different ways, whatever lifestyle you choose to live, whatever your circumstances. However, if you value highly personal growth and having new experiences and seeking interesting communities, then maybe this lifestyle can be very valuable for you, as it has been for me. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know what you think of it. I think this is a very interesting conversation that we should keep having. So let's keep having it in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.